So this is about how to sell, okay? But before we get started, I have a question, okay? Now, I want you to be honest as you can be. In the chat box, I want you to tell me what comes to mind when you think of a salesperson. In the chat box, be completely honest. What comes to mind? Pushy, hey! Confident, oh, that's nice. Yeah, they can be. What's that knee-jerk reaction that you have when you think of a salesperson? It's easy, Hannah. Yes, we've all met one of them, haven't we? ABC. Always be closing. Yes. Persistent. Yes, they can be. Yeah. That's a nice way of saying it. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Okay, I'll wait for you to get familiar. Determined. Yes, yes. You're all being very positive about this, goal-orientated. I have to say, you're being very productive. Too much. I've asked this question thousands of times, and the most common reaction I get is double glazed salesperson or a car salesperson. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Also pushy, talk too much, dishonest, some might say, selfish, slimy, as one of you said, money driven. Yes. And we feel that, right? And the reason we have that perception, I mean, let's be frank, we've probably encountered them ourselves, right? We've felt that. And even though sometimes they're saying the right words, they say the right words, but you can feel what they mean, right? You can feel that, do they really want to help us, or are they really trying to help themselves? And it doesn't feel so good, does it? Now, here's the thing. Okay, so this isn't here. I'm not here to just, take down salespeople. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because for people who are freelancers, entrepreneurs, startups, when you're new to selling, when you are new to selling, if that's what your perception is, then it's getting in your way. If you are worried about what a salesperson is, or you don't want to come across like that person, so you kind of hold back a bit. You keep quiet, you don't speak up. And as a result, the prospective clients will go and they'll reach out to people and they will buy from people who do lean forward, who do speak up, who do stand out, right? So I want to bring that to your forefront, that's a triggered reaction we have, and therefore we sit back. But don't worry, we're going to overcome that. I'm going to share with you a mindful way of selling so you can lean forward without being salesy, okay? So that you can get people to buy from you. Now, here's what we'll cover. You'll learn how to sell yourself, your services, your products. You will also learn how to avoid the biggest mistake that people typically make when they're selling. I've seen this time and time again. And also you'll learn how to sell without being pushy, right? Now, let's first unpack that word selling, because it brings up all sorts of horrible, icky feelings with people, right? I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do that. So let's just unpack that a bit so that you're more comfortable with the idea of selling. Now, what is selling? Sales is fundamentally about influence. And influence is about the act or power of producing a result without using force. See, it comes from the Latin word influentia, which means in the flow. See, now most salespeople, when they're trying to sell, they tend to push, and that doesn't feel good. But sales is about flowing. See, when you're selling to someone, you're changing their heart, you're changing their mind, and then getting them to take action, right, to move, yeah? So here's what I invite you to do. Instead of thinking selling as pushing someone, think about it as helping them. You're trying to help them get a better version, become a better version of themselves, or create a better version of their business, because that's what you're fundamentally doing. So think about it as adding value, helping them, yeah? So for those of you who don't like this idea of selling, think about serving someone. How can I make that person's life better when it comes to doing the activities of selling? Okay, whose life can I change today? It just makes it just less and more excitable. Yeah, does that sound good to anyone? Let me know what you think about that. Because the secret to sales success is the surest way to get what you want is if you help enough others get what they want. The surest way to get what you want is by helping enough people get what they want. So every day, the more people you serve, the more people's lives you make better, inevitably, the more sales you'll make. Even if then you're not selling directly to that person, if you can make that person's life better, they will probably tell 2 or 3 or 4 people. Yes, takes the pressure off you. Yeah. Hannah, helpful, good. Flow, yes. That's what you're doing. It's about serving, not pushing, but serving. So when you look about from the perspective of trying to pull them towards you, because that's what influence is. Influence is about having pull, not push. Okay, so hopefully that can help some of you unpick that word a bit and not make it so icky. Now, before we go into the actual selling, we need to quickly explore how people buy, how your prospective customers buy from you, because you need, so that you can truly serve them, right? So let's imagine I want to buy a bicycle. That's what we're all doing during lockdown, right? We're all buying bicycles, yeah? Okay, so I want to buy a bicycle, and so now I need a bicycle. What's the first thing you would do if you're buying a bicycle? In the chat box, what would you do? You think about it. Yes, you'd research online. Yes, you'd compare Google reviews, lots of it. You'd test it. Wow, awesome. Google it, research models, Claire, test cyclic, Gale, browse. Yes, you do your research. Yeah, look online. Okay, now here's another question. If you were to buy a bicycle, what's the most important thing you would look for in a bicycle? In the chat box, regardless whether or not you're buying, what would you think about first? Quality, look, quality. Amy, Barry, color. Oh, color is important to you. Reviews, yeah. Functionality, yeah. Quality, brilliant. Price, yeah. So even though we're all buying the same thing, you all have different priorities. Some of you might want gears, some of you want, no brakes, you might want a different type of, whatever it is. You're buying the same thing, but you all have different priorities. A mistake people commonly make when they're selling at this stage is they just assume everyone wants the same thing. So just bear in mind that when your customers are buying, they are prioritizing. So you need to find out what their priorities are, regardless, whatever it is you're selling. Okay. So after that, I'll buy, you make your decisions, you prioritize, you narrow it down, and then boom, click buy. But after buying, you want to make sure everything's okay, don't you? You want to make sure if anything's wrong, you can get it fixed. So after sales service is very important. See, salespeople or people new to selling, they tend to forget this step. As soon as they close that sale, they're like, oh, let me run on to another customer. But you need to look after them, because your early customers will be your fans, your recommendations, your reviews. They'll help you make a better product or service. So make sure you have something something to follow up with afterwards. Just keep in touch with them afterwards, keep nurturing them and look after them and give them more love than before. Okay, because they'll help you grow your business. Okay, so now that you know basically how people buy, and this is fundamental, regardless of whether you're buying the services of someone, if you're hiring someone, you'd go through exactly the same. You'd interview them, you would, do all sorts of research to hire the right person, you'd hire them and you'd have a probationary period. Or if you're buying insurance, anything anyone buys, this is the stage they go through. So think about your customers. How do they decide? Where do they look? Who do they ask before they buy from you? Okay. So now that you know how people buy, we're going to go through the 7 steps on how to sell. Now, the first step when it comes to selling people, is you. Sales is about your customer. I know we just talked about that you need to know how they buy, but first you need to look after you mindset. Why? Because how you think affects how you feel, what you say, and the results you get. Do you all agree with that? Say yes in the chat box, please, if you agree. Yeah. Right? So if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling doubtful, if you're not sure about something, then how you come across in your meetings is, you're going to be forgetful, you're going to stutter, you won't be as fluent, as proficient and enthusiastic, right? Whereas if you're feeling confident and you're feeling sure and excited, you'll be way more persuasive. Does it make sense? and you'll click and you'll inspire and you will engage. So the most important step is you. Let me share with you an example. When I worked with a startup, now I worked one of the co-founders. Now he had previously had an illustrious career working in an investment bank, right? 7+ years. And now he was working in this startup. And we were in the meeting of one of our top 10 clients. It was one of our top 10 prospective clients. I think this was like number 7. And we were in the room with these people. It was amazing. We had 2 influencers there, were sitting across the table. I'm not talking about Instagram influencers. These are people who influence decisions. There will be, if you're targeting businesses, that's how it works. There will be people who kind of influence the decision. There'll be people who sign off the check, and there'll be people who are involved with the problem area of the product or service you're selling, right? So anyway, these 2 were influenced, and then Miss Moneybags was sitting there too, the person who signs the checks. It was like, yes, awesome. And the founder, he was standing at the desk, at the end of the desk, and he was giving his presentation. Rah, he's got his flow charts and his graphs and rah, rah, rah. He was really going in there and giving it his best pitch. He didn't notice Miss Moneybags was sitting there. She was doing this. She was going completely checked out. And the other 2, the influencers, have you noticed when you're looking at someone, you're talking to someone and you can see their eyes are glazed over? You know what I'm talking about? You know, right? The lights are on, but no one's home. They're probably thinking, oh, how many Instagram likes did I get? Oh, I can't wait to watch Schitt's Creek episodes tonight. The TV show. I can't wait to watch the dinner. Yeah, their minds are off elsewhere and their eyes are glazed over. They're not in the room. Why? This founder was just talking. Now, before the meeting, he was pacing up and down in the reception area on his phone, trying to close a house that he was buying. In the morning, before the meeting, he was with an investor, and they were saying, like, you need to close, you need to get some sales. So when he entered that meeting, he thought he entered the meeting with his laptop and his phone. He walked in with all this luggage and he was dumping it on their desks. He was in fear mode. When you're in fear mode, you cannot help but be selfish, and you can't help but serve yourself. And you go on automatic pilot as well. There is no room for engagement. There is no room for inspiration when you're in that self-serving mode. So the takeaway, what do? To be present. Be present. Now, what does that mean? Let's show you. Let's show you at home for a moment, yeah? Close your eyes, please. And take a deep breath and listen to your breathing. Deep breath, just listening to your breathing. Inhale and exhale, that's all. Yeah, one more time. Just inhale and listen. And exhale and listen. Okay, now you can open your eyes. How was that? How did that feel? Relaxing, good, nice, lovely, Amy, lovely, calming, good. Okay, now why? All right, I can breathe, so what? You may be wondering, when you focus on your breathing, when your attention is focused on your breathing, you're not thinking. You can't do both at the same time. Now, the problem with the founder or anyone who's new to selling and you're doing something that scares you, selling scares a lot of people, fear stops you from showing up as your best self. But when you focus on your breathing, you're not in your head. Those thoughts, oh, I got to sell, I can't sell, what if I mess up? Whatever it is those voices are saying in your head, it stops you showing up as fully as you can. So the takeaway, the first step is before your meetings, before calls, before your presentations and proposals or replying that email, take a breath, okay? Just 30 seconds. It clears out the clutter, creates space for the magical, authentic you to come across. Sound good to you? So ethos is the first step. The next step, preparation. Now, when people are presenting themselves and pitching themselves and so, a common mistake they make is when it comes to communicating their value, right? So we're going to talk about that snippet about how to communicate your value in a way that people get it. Now, when people meet you for the first time, apart from asking you what's your name and your company, what's a common question people ask? Well, they say, how are you? Okay, I'm leading a question. Okay, it's what do you do? Okay, that's a common question. Yay, thank you, Alison. Nice one. High five. So they ask, what do you do, right? And how do we answer that question? How do we answer that question? What do you do? Let's be honest, right? We tend to answer with job titles. I'm a web developer, cloud app interface, social media expert. Someone actually said, I'm a multi-channel, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it doesn't really communicate value to other people. So here's how you do it. Here's how you communicate your value. First, focus on who do you serve? Who is your customer? Right? To be specific, is it a sector size? Is it a company size? Do you 0 to 20 employees? Whatever. Is it a job title? Do you serve a demographic? 40-year-olds, 40 to 45-year-olds? Yeah? To be specific. Yeah, when you're specific, you can make yourself a big fish in a small pond. When you're general, you make yourself a small fish in a big pond. Okay, so think be a big fish in a small pond. Big fish, small fish, big fish, big fish. Do they still do that when they go clubbing? Okay, so be super specific, all right? Now, next, you want to focus on what outcome do people get after they buy your product or service. Because people are not buying you, your product or your service. Sorry, just to rip the Band-Aid off, they don't care. They're not buying your time. They're buying an outcome. And there are fundamentally 4 outcomes people buy. It's either to make more money, it's to save time, or they want to save money, or they want to have a transformational and emotional experience. Like imagine, say you went on a beach holiday. Oh, don't you miss those? One day we will all be able to go on holiday, okay? Remember that. So imagine, reflect back to a time when you could go on holiday. How did it make you feel when you came back? Hey, how did you feel after a holiday? I know it was a while ago. Relaxed, yes. Refreshed, exactly. Great, yeah, right? So exactly, they're not buying, when you buy a beach holiday, you're not buying a patch of sand, you're not buying a barcode, you're not buying a chair on a flying object, you're buying rejuvenation, happiness, relaxation, right? So think about your product or service. How do they feel after they've bought it? Think about those words, yeah? And after that, you put it in, I call it a benefit statement, so we give help. This is where you insert your target audience. Who is it? Who do you help? Be, do, have, those are interchangeable. So they can, what do they get afterwards? So I'm going to share with you an example. We help investment-ready startups. So not just any startups, investment-ready startups, specific, yeah? We help investment-ready startups save money so they can focus on growth. What's the job title? Can you guess? Chat box. Guess what that job title is? We help investment-ready startups save money so they can focus on growth. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just giving you the general gist. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys are working on yours, which is fine. You don't have to answer that question. So your homework, I want you to please work on this. Yeah. Take time afterwards, come back, watch the replay, but please work on your benefit statement. Okay. Next step. So that's preparation. The next step is investigation. Now, the biggest mistake people make when they're selling is they will walk into a room or they'll begin a call or whatever it is, and they'll start talking about their product or services. Hey, this is what we do. This is what we do. Here's our thing. Here's our product. Here's our service. Right. Now, there's a technical term we have in sales when you do that. It's called showing up and throwing up. Right? Remember, people don't care about what you're selling. They care about themselves. Yeah. Now, when we talked about influence earlier, right? You're trying to influence them. Now, when you first communicate with people, when you first meet people when you meet people for the first time, the most influential conversation going on is not what you're saying to them. The most influential conversation is what they are saying to themselves. what they care about, what matters to them. And according to Abraham Maslow, motivational psychologist, there are fundamentally the most people you're selling to care about these things fundamentally. They care about making more money. They care about being great success in life. Being successful. They care about climbing a career ladder, climbing any sort of ladder. They care about what other people think of them, looking good to their friends. So this is fundamentally what most of the people you're selling to will care about. How will this help me make more money? How will this help me be more successful? How will this help me climb a ladder, get promoted at work? How will this help me look good to my friends? That's what people care about when you're selling to them. Okay, so you need to think less about you and more about them. And also there was research published in the Harvard Business Review. They interviewed what makes people buy from people, right? Imagine I'm a buyer. What would make me buy from you? The three most important things that makes people buy from you. And it's this. It's when you help me achieve my objectives, helping your buyers achieve their objectives. When you help improve their productivity. And also you can enhance their self-worth. Now, enhancing self-worth doesn't mean being fake nice or fake friendly. No, it's about making them successful. So the question you need to ask when you're trying to sell yourself, your services, and you're about to have a meeting, so we're talking about pre-meeting prep, focus less on yourself, focus less on your products, focus less on your services and your deck, your presentation, and focus more on them. Ask yourself questions like, what are their objectives? How can I help them achieve them? Where are their productivity challenges? Where are the bottlenecks in their productivity? And how can I help smooth them out? And enhanced self-worth is, how can I make that person successful in their job, in their life, and so on? Think about those thoughts, those questions, and you'll be on the right track. You will stand out way more than most salespeople. Yeah? Because if you're preoccupied with getting, you cannot give. It's impossible. It's metaphysically impossible. Okay? If you're trying to take, you cannot give. So this is where ethos is super important, because when you're in that room trying to take, which happens when you're in fear mode, we get selfish, and we get self-serving, we're in survival mode, you cannot serve. That's why it requires you to get mindful, get present, be in the room so you can be there to give and let your authentic self flow. Yeah? So put yourself on their side of the table. Put yourself in their seat. A task I give my coaching clients is, for example, go and look up their LinkedIn profile and try and guess what how they're measured. Ask yourself questions like, what's their profit margin? What are their key KPIs, key performance indicators? How are they measured? How are they measured in their work, in their success? And what will help them get promoted? Will it help them get promoted? So what's in it for them? Asking yourself questions help steer our focus. So if you ask yourself this question, you're more likely to think about them and how you can serve them and less about yourself. Does that make sense? Say yes if you're still here with me. Good. Any more? Hannah, yes, oh, lovely, 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 fabulous. And you also need to be, this is super important, you need to be a good listener. Hey, do you like my ears? Woohoo! Okay, you got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Please use them in that ratio. People their mouth tends to be too big and they've got tiny, tiny ears and they use them in that ratio. No, you need to listen more than you talk, okay? So that means you need to ask questions to get them talking. And you also need to build rapport. What does rapport mean? Chat box people, what does rapport mean? What's your understanding of rapport? Yes, Barry, Chris, build a bond, yes. Commonality, Michelle, yes. Kamaya, comfort, Kamaya. Relatability, oh yeah, you got it. It's building a connection, there you go, yes. All of the above, you all said it. It's about being on the same wavelength, just connecting with them, making them feel comfortable around you. That's fundamentally what it is. Because then otherwise they're not going to open up. Because you need to explore what, those questions earlier about objectives, productivity, self-worth, all of those enhancing self-worth, you need to figure out what those are, and you need to ask them about them, right? They're not just going to suddenly open up and tell you straight away. No, you need to build that rapport. You need to build, they feel comfortable around you. There was this one episode of Dragon's Den where the contenders, they're all tasked with signing on a new supplier. The first bunch went in, they walked in that room and they got straight down to business. They started talking numbers and challenging the supplier about what they're going to do. Group 2 walked in and the supplier had a dog, and the dog was running around the office, and the contender, they went, "Oh, little doggy, how old is it? Oh, what's its name?" And they just started talking about the dog. They started bonding about the dog, and then they started talking about the work and so on. Guess who got the contract? The doggy one. Okay, yeah, just to save you time, because I think you guys got it, right? So build that rapport, build that trust with them. Now, there are many, many ways you can do this, and you don't have to be, extrovert to do this. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. But these are the most two powerful questions I've found. It works it works seamlessly. The first is this: two powerful questions you can ask. First is, what's exciting for you? What's exciting for you right now? Guess what they're going to talk about? Themselves. Yes. Their business or themselves. Yes. It gives them license to talk about them, their most favorite subject in the whole wide world. Okay. So listen. And the most important thing at this step is to listen, because what happens is when someone says, "Oh, yes, I went on holiday. Oh, I went on holiday." Just let them talk. Don't try and one-up them, because that's a mistake people make. When they say something good and something nice, they try to one-up them or match them. No. Let them have the spotlight. Just listen. Okay, so they will open up then. They'll feel, you've listened to them. They'll feel more open. And then you can ask the question, what's your biggest challenge? Okay, so these are two examples. I could go on for 2 hours about questions, but try this on for size. I challenge you to use it today, please. Say yes if you're up for that challenge. Whichever conversation you're having next after this session, I challenge you to ask those two questions. Okay? Say yes if you're up for it. 100%, yes. Good. Okay, you're up for it. All right. And I want you to email and tell me how it went. Okay? Okay, so now that you ask questions, you've investigated, right? You've asked all these questions. The next step is tiny, teeny tiny, but really important, is called confirm. Confirm is simply you're holding back a mirror. You hold back a mirror and you reflect back what they said to you. This is important because people don't believe what you say, they believe what they say. So if you simply reflect back what they said, they will respond with yes. Yeah. I suggested this to one of my clients. He's a financial advisor, and he said, okay, this week, I'm just going to do the confirm thing. I'm just going to confirm back what they said. And one client, prospective client, she had met with multiple financial advisors. She was trying to pick who to work with. And he did this confirm thing. And at the end of the meeting, she said, you know what? I feel like you are the only one who really understood me. So when you confirm back, can summarize what they said in the meeting. So you're looking for this is a challenge, you want to do this, is that right? They'll nod, they'll say yes. And it's such a powerful thing because they're telling you yes with their nervous system. Okay, so confirm. Exactly, Andrew. Active listening. Yeah, there are many ways to describe it, but you are actively listening, but you reflect back what they said. So after confirming, the next step is add value. This is the bit where you can talk about you. Yay! You're like, finally, Hercules. Okay, you can talk about you now. Now, the reason I call it add value is because you're talking about how you can add value. That's what you have to do when you're talking about your products and services. But you cannot add value until you know what is of value. That's why you do the investigation earlier, to understand what is of value, what do they care about, what are their values, what are their priorities, and so on, right? And then you add value. Now, here's the biggest takeaway when it comes to adding value, because I've seen if people make a mistake. They'll talk about all of their features, all of their benefits, everything that they do. Don't just focus on less is more. Less is more. If they said the color is important, like we talked about bicycles, let's use that. They focus on the color or the gears or the spokes or whatever. Just focus on talking about the spokes of the product or service. Yeah. Just focus on what they care about. Because if you reel off all of the amazing things that you can offer, it dilutes the value in their mind. They start thinking, how much is this going to cost me? Or they'll start coming up with all sorts of other objections. Yeah. So this is the stage where people mess it up. They will just create more trouble rather than focusing in on the solution that they can offer. Okay. So less is more when it comes to talking about your products and services. Sound good to you? Now the next step, good. Okay, you're on it. Good. Next step is tiny again, but super important. Is called contribute. Now, imagine this scenario. You've had your meeting, you've talked about you, and maybe they said, okay, send us a proposal. You send the proposal and you're waiting to hear back from them and you haven't heard from them and you're wondering, a week has passed, you haven't heard, you're like, and you start emailing them. Do you see my proposal? What do you think? You want to buy from me? This is a part where people drop the ball and they ruin sales opportunities because they start becoming the annoying mosquito in the inbox. Then they start, go away, right? So the key is to contribute, to continue thinking about serving them. How can you help them? I'll share a quick example with you. One time when I was writing my first book, I met an illustrator. Right? He made these wonderful illustrations, and then he said, hey, look, I make illustrations for authors too. I said, oh, great. He sent me his portfolio, and I was like, oh, wow. I clicked on the link. I said, okay, well, please get back to me in a month's time. I'm still working on the editing. A month later, I get an email from him. Bing! Hey, here's my new work. Do you like my work? Are you ready to buy it? And I wrote back saying, I'm so sorry, editing's taking ages. Can you please get back to me in a month's time? 3 weeks later, bing! Hi, here's my work. Do you like it? Are you ready to buy it? He got really annoying. I just ignored the email. If, on the other hand, his first email was, hey, when we met, you mentioned you want to put your book on Kindle. Well, here's a step-by-step guide on how you can upload it on Kindle, because I know it's a nightmare. Can you imagine how useful that would have been for me? I would have been, whoa, that's so cool. Thank you. Listen, I'm please keep in touch. I'm delayed on my editing. Get back to me. And a month later, if he had emailed me saying, you're probably thinking about front cover. Well, you should check out 99 Designs. Brilliant way to get your, fabulous artwork for your front cover. How awesome would that have been? Okay. So think about contributing, because then I think, wow, I still want to work with this person. People will still pick up your calls and still reply your emails, even if they're not ready to buy from you, because people are not ready to buy at the exact moment in time you want them to. So always focus on contributing. So maybe they'll buy from you in 6 months' time, or maybe they won't and they'll refer people to you, but just keep focus on contribution. Okay. And the next step is take action. This is the part where you close. It's known as closing. I prefer the word take action. You're getting them to take action. I feel like you taking action is very much like, right, let's get that deal. It doesn't feel so nice. Think of it from the perspective of helping them decide whether they want to buy from you or not. Yeah. And one of the easiest way to do it, I don't like the direct one where you say, well, you want to buy it or whatever, direct, very direct. I don't like that. I was once working with a startup and he said, well, should I give him a discount? Should I give him a last minute discount? I said, no. He had a tech product. One of this person I was working with, he had a tech product, and the buyers made all the right noises. They all sounded interested and so on. And it's something like 10 days had passed and they hadn't said yes yet. And I said, look, arrange a meeting with them and start talking about the design. He'd create mock-up designs, and he went and just met and we talked about, well, do you like that one? How many questions do you want to ask? It was a survey product. How many questions would you want to ask? And the client was saying, the prospect was saying, how many can we ask? Can we ask 3? Can we put our logo there? It was very sort of assumptive. It's like the natural progression is that we are going to work with you. Yeah. So instead of trying to get a yes or no answer, explore like a design element or specific aspects of your product or service and talk about that in a way that they're perhaps going to move forward. Yeah. So kind of be as yeah, assume the next logical step is to work together. Does that make sense? Yeah. So arrange a meeting to talk about specific aspects of the actual product or service or implementation. Okay. So that's a nice, smooth way of getting them to take action. Because the thing is, if they're not ready, they will tell you. Because there's nothing worse than not knowing and then you're just drumming, because at least if they're not ready and you ask them a question, they will tell you. And at least you will know, okay, what do I need to do next to move this forward? Okay, so take action. And now we're almost there, people. Wow, that flew by. So remember, sales is about your customer, but it starts with you, ethos, right? Because how you think affects how you feel, what you say, and how you show up in meetings. And then remember preparation. Yeah, your benefit statements, you're going to work on that tonight, your homework. Yeah. And then we talked about investigation. A common mistake is people will make is they go in and they start talking about them. But no, you need to investigate what are their needs first. What are their challenges? What are their goals? Where do they want to be? Always explore that first. And what are their priorities? And then confirm back what they said, just so I'm clear, right? Reflect back what they said, because they don't believe what we say, they believe what they say, but also you want to check in that you got everything right. Yeah. And then add value. Now you can talk about you. You cannot add value till you know what's of value. And oh, remember, less is more. And contribution is so important at this step. Don't drop the ball. Keep giving, keep serving. So if they're not ready to buy from you in a week's time, maybe they will in a month's time or 6 months' time, sometimes even a year. But you need to keep giving. And then take action. This is about getting them to take action, to move forward with you. Yeah. Now, in sales, we like acronyms. And the acronym I grew up with, I don't think is relevant for you. So I created one for you because what you're doing is you're doing something meaningful and purposeful. And you're doing it because you want to make an impact. You want to have an epic life. Yeah. So when it comes to selling, think epic act. Yeah. Every conversation, because a sale is never one yes, it's one tiny yes at a time. Every single action you take, tiny, tiny, tiny action leads to the sale. Okay. And I wrote a book about it. Woohoo! You can buy it here on Amazon. Thank you all. Take care. Stay warm.